I brought Stitch. Say hi, Stitch. Hi. There you go, Stitch. You can sit in the background for a little while. Sit there. See if Stitch falls over. Maybe. As I mentioned previously in the homeostasis video, this video is going to be about Hackmon. Now, Hackmon seems to be a rather unique Digimon, that in the fact that it is one of the only Digimon that we have seen that is not a villainous Digimon that can digivolve without a human partner to higher level forms and still go back to their smaller form. Now, I do not remember. I think Hackmon is supposed to be the rookie form, if I remember correctly. And then we do get Justmon. Justmon is it's a fully evolved form, so it's a mega form. And Hackmon is actually, as I said, a very interesting and unique Digimon. It is a Digimon that is the messenger for homeostasis. And as I mentioned, homeostasis is this, kind of not deity, but program, observer type thing in the digital world that is meant to keep things in balance. And Hackmon is kind of its emissary. And he has this goal of wanting to, restore balance between both the human world and the digital world. And in doing so, he has to remove what is called the Libra at any cost. The Libra is Meikumon, which is where that problem lies, is because Meikumon and Meiko are, of course, friends of the other Digidestined. They have subsequently become friends with and started to hang out with and be around the other Digidestined, the other 8 Digidestined. Should be 12 in regards to Davis and Ken and Cody and Lee, but 8. And we end up seeing Hackmon a couple of times throughout the course of the series, course of a Digimon Adventure Tri. He's not part of original Digimon Adventure or Digimon 2.0. He is just simply part of Digimon Tri. I don't even think he's referenced in like Digimon The Last Evolution. But we see Hackmon kind of running around in the background for the first couple of one of the first video, or one of the first kind of movie episode type thing. And he observes from the background, Meikumon walking around when she's kind of lost, and when Meiko's looking for her, and when the other Digidestined help. And then he observes the Digidestined fight against Kawagamon, and he watches when the Digidestined fight against Alphamon when he's trying to attack Meikumon. Alphamon is another fully evolved Digimon that is a Digimon that works for King Drazel, if I remember correctly. He's kind of working alongside King Drazel and Dark Jedi, if I remember correctly. He's part of that group. But I'll probably talk about him a tiny bit when I do the King Drazel video, but we don't see enough of him or learn enough about him to do a video about him, as far as I can tell. I could try, but I'm not going to. Or at the moment, I'm not going to. But like Hackmon kind of observes this, and then he kind of jumps back and forth between the digital world and the real world, going to the digital world and probably reporting to Homeostasis about what he saw. I've located the Libra. And Libra is, I think, a reference to, the balance scales. And, that's his job, was to find her. And then technically it's also his job to destroy her, which is not good, and that means destroying Meikumon. Now, unfortunately, we know that via the end of Digimon Adventure Tri, Meikumon does end up getting destroyed and deleted, which is very hard to watch throughout the course of that last episode when it comes to Meiko and the other Digidestined. And we don't see, he's a little bit in the first one in Reunion, and then he's also in Determination. He's, again, watches Meiko and Meikumon from the sidelines, observing them and tracking, Meikumon and seeing if she is truly the Libra. Because I don't think he wants to destroy her if he doesn't have to, because he under as a subordinate of homeostasis, I would assume that Hackmon understands that there is this very strong bond between the human Digidestined and their Digimon, and that I don't think that he wants to have to destroy that bond between Mako and Mekumon, and that if there was a way to just get whatever piece of the virus out of Mekumon, so she can't infect anybody else anymore, and so she doesn't keep going, out of control, then that would probably be something Hawkmon would be, or Hackmon. I keep wanting to say Hawkmon. Hawkmon is Yolei's Digimon. Hackmon, I'm assuming it's supposed to be a reference to like hack as in like computer hacking, or like, oh, you're a hack at something. I don't know exactly. Because just like with Pokemon, sometimes Digimon names are puns. In some cases. In some cases, they're very, very obvious. Wormmon. I'm a worm. Mm-hmm. You look more like a caterpillar, but okay. Caterpillarmon doesn't quite roll off the tongue. Caterpymon probably would have gotten them sued by Digimon, or sued by Pokemon. Because they already went through that when it came to Cubumon and Ninetales. That's a different video. But one of the things that happens is, he's watching them, and he actually watches the battle that happens between kind of Leomon and then Ogremon. I don't know if he watches that specifically, that battle between Leomon and Ogremon in the digital world before, Leomon goes into the real world. And then he does watch when Mekumon is kind of almost kidnapped by a Dark Jedi in his Digimon Emperor outfit. And he observes the battle between the infected Imperial Dramon and against the Digidestined, against Rosemon and Vikemon. Between, Mimi and Joe's Digimon against him. And, he watches all of that, and he's just observing from the sidelines. And then we get into Confession, which is the third one. And, sometimes after Mekumon has disappeared, after the end of Determination, Hackmon reports to someone that he still cannot find her. This is probably reporting to Homeostasis. But he doesn't think that she's in the digital world. And he'll continue to keep looking for her, just like, update status. I'm still watching for the target. I'm still looking all over for it, but I don't think she's in the digital world. I'm going to go keep looking in the real world, type of thing. And also in Confession, he ends up warp digivolving all the way up to Jessmon when the Digimon arrive in the real world, or arrive from the real world into the digital world. Hackmon may not have been affected by the digital world reboot, or it was just part of his underlying data is that he always works for Homeostasis. Since we didn't ever see him in Digimon Adventures or Digimon 2.0, Adventures 2.0, we don't know that. And could have just been that, like, he was also reborn as, from a Digi-8, just like the other Digidestined, and he just hasn't gotten to the point, those Digimon haven't been able to really digivolve because they don't have their Digidestined with them yet, whereas he can digivolve on his own. Or I guess maybe a good analogy is that, like, his partner is kind of Homeostasis. And because of whatever bond is there between him and Homeostasis, he is then able to digivolve. And he has digivolved all the way up to Jessmon in order to fight against Alphamon. And when the Digidestined first arrive in the digital world after it's been rebooted, they see Jessmon and Alphamon fighting. They also kind of run away from this because they don't have their Digimon with them, so they can't exactly fight too. And during the time when the Digidestined are in the real or in the digital world, Hackmon then goes to the real world, and he tells Diego Nishijima that Maki Himakawa, your friend and fellow agent of insert name of extremely long and redundant government agency name, she is actually kind of one of the problems for what happened. She's the reason her true intentions were so that way she could, get to her Digimon again, get to Tapirmon, which, again, as I stated in Maki's video, I can kind of see where some of her desperation is coming from. But it's also maybe not worth it in regards to the chaos that you're causing. And, Hackmon explains he's kind of this replacement messenger for Jedi who's currently being, control. Well, there's the Dark Jedi, but he's not going to give anybody any helpful advice. And the real Jedi is currently held captive in the life support pods with the other Digidestined, the other younger Digidestined. And so he's kind of out of commission. So Hackmon has to be the messenger. And he tells Maki's father and Diego, I think he had initially, I don't remember if he told Diego initially that there was going to be a reboot as well, but he tells him that there might have to be a second reboot. And that I am still looking for the Libra. Because it can cause the destruction of both worlds if the Libra falls into the wrong hands. And implied that if Meicoomon fell into Dark Jedi's hands and then was taken to King Drazel could then, force, Meicoomon to, do whatever he wanted her to do. Spread the virus more, cause the Digimon to go more crazy and cause more harm in the human world and in the digital world and cause more chaos. We do kind of learn a little bit about King Drazel's motives from Jedi, is that King Drazel looks at humans as an infection. And I think it's also, he looks at them as an infection because there's something that can cause a threat to him. And again, I'll go over that a little bit more in the King Drazel video that I'm going to do. But Hackmon, he tells Diego and Maki and Mako's father, we need to find the Libra, and we need to, find her and then either destroy her or do something to prevent her from going crazy again. He does end up appearing again to Diego a little bit more, and dude's got good timing for stuff because he always appears when it's night out and there's no lights on in the office, and he's on top of the TV and it's showing news reports of all the Digimon causing problems all over the world. And he's just I told you this was gonna happen type of a thing and you didn't listen. And he's just Hackmon could have literally been given the Christian Bale voice for Batman and it would have been fine. And I'm I can buy it. And he's still supposed to destroy Meicoomon, and he has he digivolves all the way up to Jesmon again, and he's fighting against trying to fight against Meicoomon, who's all the way up to Regalimon at this point in time. And Alphamon's there trying to prevent him from fighting against Regalimon, and then there's the Digidestined, and they're trying to fight against because they want to protect Meicoomon because they want to get her better. And so there's all this different fighting going on, and part of the fighting is of course when Tai and Nishijima fall into the ravine. Hackmon also has shown up and talked to the Digidestined a couple of times, or at least one or two times, and kind of explained to them what was going on with why Meicoomon is going crazy beyond just the virus. But also kind of a little more of what she is. And I went over this before, is that Meicoomon, when she was a Digi-Egg, was infected with a tiny little piece of Apocalomon's data. And that data, kind of grew and twisted and kind of had little holds on Meicoomon at times. And whenever Meicoomon was not around Mako, then sometimes that would, overpower it and kind of override and cause problems. And Mako still had to go to school and everything like that, and I'm sure that Meicoomon was fine with being around Mako's mother at times, but one of the times when Meicoomon was taken away from Mako and was taken to the lab where Mako's father works, she had a lot of tests run on her, and then she went crazy and caused, hurt a lot of people. And then Mako was the only one that could calm her down. And I think, I think with Hackmon, if they had found a way to be able to like just remove the virus or the little piece of data, the pieces of data that were connected to Apocalymon from Mekumon and from her code, then he would have been fine with not destroying her because she's no longer a threat. She's no longer causing these problems. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And Jesmon, I think he attempts to try to help the Digimon, Digidestined at some point. But he, it's just kind of still not fun and everything. And I think he talks to Dark Jedi at some point in time, but I don't remember exactly. And then after everything is finished, at the end of Future, he's watched everything that happened with their Digimon and watched as the Digidestined fought against it and kind of, for all intents and purposes, fought against their friend in the form of, Mekumon and, Nyarumon, Gatomon for a little while there. He, observes this and everything, and he, I don't know if it necessarily changes his opinion of humans. I don't think Hackmon hated humans or anything like that. I think it was just he unfortunately didn't necessarily have a partner of his own, and that kind of, not made him bitter, but, it would have affected his worldview. But he doesn't view humans as a bad thing. Homeostasis does not view Digimon as a bad thing. King Drazel does, because, again, King Drazel is something that, the Digidestined are a threat to my power because they keep destroying all of these bad Digimon, and if they can destroy some of them, then they have the possibility of being able to destroy me. And Hackmon, I think at some point at the end of it, I don't remember if he informs the Digidestined that King Drazel has been shut down, or if like he went and he may have just been messenger mode and like told them, oh, the King Drazel has been shut down, and all of that. But he also tells the Digidestined that there would have to be another reboot on the digital world during the fight with Urdinimon to destroy Urdinimon, and he's like, the intent is to reboot all digital technology in the real world to stop Urdinimon. However, that would obviously cripple the man-made infrastructure, all of that, all around the world, because you do a giant reboot on everything at the same time, and you're going to cause a lot of problems. Any planes that are in the sky at that point in time are going to fall. Other things that are, flying or driving or different things like that are controlled by digital, that are controlled by, digital programs and, computer programs are all going to get shut down at the same time. And I don't think Hackmon wants to cause harm, but his main purpose, his main goal is to, of course, help Homeostasis keep balance between the real world and the digital world. And if that does mean, to a degree, having to, sacrifice some human lives in this case to try to stop Urdinimon from destroying both worlds, and maybe setting, the human world back a couple of decades, century, because this is all kind of taking place in 2005. Is when Digimon Adventure Tri takes place, is about 2005, via timeline of the rest of the series. But, we don't ever really get a whole full resolution. Hackmon just kind of stops showing up and, disappears and goes back to the digital world, reports back to Homeostasis, I'm assuming. I don't think we're ever going to see anything else of Hackmon. But if I remember correctly, the Jesmon himself, if I remember correctly, is a Digimon that is part of this group of Digimon that are called the Royal Knights. And the Royal Knights are kind of first brought up during Digimon Frontier. And we see a bit more of them in Digimon Data Squad, or Sabers, whichever one you want to go to. And I don't remember if Jessamon is one of them, but there's like a different lineup for like, there's a similar lineup to the Royal Knights, um, in the series, and then also in like the games, and then also in just like Digimon lore in general. It's like, oh, this specific Digimon is a member of the Royal Knights, and I think Jessamon is one of them. And in Digimon Savers, the Royal Knights protect King Drazel. But I think that's just because in Digimon Savers, King Drazel has kind of warped Digimon to think that, oh, all humans are bad. Humans are horrible things that just want to cause trouble for Digimon. And, just want to cause trouble and hurt them and experiment on them and everything like that. Now, I will argue the fact of, no, not all humans are that way. There are some, obviously, that are, and that would love to experiment on Digimon and probably use them as weapons. But for the majority of us, I would like to think that we wouldn't want to do that. But again, that goes along the whole lines of King Drazel just hates humans because I'm assuming he sees them as a threat. And I will go over that when I do the King Drazel video after I've done a little bit more research on him, because we never see what King Drazel looks like in Digimon Adventures Tribe, but we do get some visuals of him in some of the other series or in some of the card game stuff. And, so that's what I have for Hackmon. Again, kind of a slightly shorter video. Not too much. He definitely has a flair for the dramatics with like his entrances and exits and stuff like that. But, okay, I'm going to throw a reference at you. And for any of you that get this reference, good. And for any of you that don't, go back and figure out what this reference is. So, I have seen most of the series called MASH, which is it's a, sitcom, dramedy type series, dramedy, sitcom, dramedy, comedy, drama, that ran here in the U.S. in the 70s into the 80s. I think it was on for 11 seasons. And it is about this mobile army surgical hospital that is in Korea during the Korean War. It takes place in the 50s. And there's this character that keeps showing up. It's mostly about these doctors. So if you've ever heard of like Hawkeye Pierce or MASH or the 407 or whatever you want to call them, that's MASH. MASH is awesome. It was a book and then got be a movie, and then the movie became a TV series based on the same characters and based on the book and based on real accounts of doctors and nurses and soldiers and stuff like that were coming back, that had been in the Korean War and then were coming back or were currently in the Vietnam War at the time frame. And one of the recurring characters that they have throughout the series is a character called Colonel Flagg, who is an inept CIA agent. And one of my favorite times that he's ever shown up, he does like an exit when he leaves at the end of the episode, because like problem happened in episode, shows up, thinks he's the one that fixes the problem, and then he's not. And he's just like, whenever I leave, nobody sees me coming. Or whenever I come in, nobody sees me come in. And when I leave, nobody watches me leave. So I have to be like the wind, come in like the wind and leave with the wind. So he's like, I have to leave. And it's like, okay, just walk out the door. And it's just like, no, I have to do it in like a dramatic fashion type of a thing. And it's just like, okay. And then he like turns all the lights off, and then you hear like a window break. And like it's just a one-story building. He just like jumps out the window. I don't think he realized the window wasn't open. And he jumps out of the window, and you hear a crashing sound. And then they look over, they turn the light on, and they go and look out the window. It's like, the wind just broke its leg. And it's just like, at least Hackmon doesn't do that. That took about 3 minutes to explain MASH to you. But go watch MASH. It's good too. It's awesome. You get a lot of fun references in MASH. But even if not, it's just like, and he jumped out the window, and he hurt his leg. Hackmon at least is better at not doing that. Flair for dramatic entrances, but then again, so does Batman have a flair for the dramatic entrances. So, oh well. That's what we have for Hackmon. I thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have a nice rest of your day. I am going to do a video about King Drazel again. I don't know how that's going to fall in regards to when this video comes out. But then also I'm going to do a video about like the celestial Digimon, or the harmonious ones, as well. From what we know about them from Digimon Adventures, and then I'll do a different one when I get to Digimon Tamers, because similar but different in regards to kind of who and what they are. So thank you for watching. Hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye. A part of Apocalymon's data is contained in the Libra. That shard is from a dark corner of the digital world. The Libra's powers have made her an outcast,